everyone. We are from Group 8 and we are presenting Virginia Henderson's nursing need theory. General outline of our discussion are the following. Who is Virginia Henderson? What is Virginia Henderson's need theory? 4 major concepts of the need theory. Fundamental ideas about need theory. Discussion of our case scenario. Client assessment using Henderson's 14 components. Nursing interventions with rationale. Client goals. Client evaluation, and conclusion. But before we end up our discussion, we are going to present a video conversation with Virginia Henderson. To continue, let's all welcome Ms. Rodaline Villagonzalo.
Who is Virginia Henderson? She was born on November 30, 1897 and died March 19, 1996. She was an influential nurse, researcher, theorist, and author. She was known as the First Lady of Nursing and called arguably the most famous nurse of the 20th century. She was also called the quintessential nurse of the 20th century. She was famous for her definition of nursing. The unique function of the nurse is to assist the individual, sick or well, in the performance of those activities contributing to health or its recovery, that he would perform unaided if he had the necessary strength, will, or knowledge. Her written works will be viewed as the 20th century equivalent of those of Florence Nightingale, who is the founder of modern nursing. What is Virginia Henderson need theory? She categorized nursing activities into 14 components based on human needs. First, breathe normally. Second, eat and drink accurately. Third, eliminate body waste. Fourth, move and maintain desirable postures. Fifth, sleep and rest. Sixth, select suitable clothes, dress and undress. 7. Maintain body temperature within normal range by adjusting clothing and modifying environment. 8. Keep the body clean and well-groomed and protecting tegument. 9. Avoid dangers in the environment and avoid injuring others. 10. Communicate with others in expressing emotions, needs, fears, or opinions. 11. Worship according to one's faith. 12. Work in such a way that there is a sense of accomplishment. 13. Pay or participate in various forms of recreation. And lastly, learn, discover, or satisfy the curiosity that leads to normal development and health, and use the available health facilities. The first 9 components are physiological. The 10th and 14th are psychological aspects of communicating and learning. The 11th component is spiritual and moral. The 12th and 13th components are sociologically oriented to occupation and recreation. She described the nurse's role as substitutive, doing for the person, supplementary, helping the person, complementary, working with the person, with the goal of helping the person become as independent as possible. Now, regarding the major concept of need theory and fundamental ideas about the need theory, let's hear it from Janine.
4 major concepts of need theory are person, environment, health, and nursing. Person have basic needs that are component of health, requiring assistance to achieve health and independence or a peaceful death. Mind and body are inseparable and interrelated. Considers the biological, psychological, and sociological and spiritual components. The theory presents the patient the sum of parts with bio-psychosocial needs. Second is environment. Setting in which an individual learns the unique pattern for living. All external conditions and influences that affect life and development. Individual relation to families, minimally discusses the impact of the community on the individual and family. Basic nursing care involves providing conditions under which the patient can perform the 14 activities unaided. Third is health. Definition based on individual's ability to function independently as outlined in the 14 components. Nurses need to stress promotion of health and prevention and cure disease. Good health is a challenge affected by age, cultural background, physical and intellectual capabilities, and emotional balance is the individual's ability to meet these needs independently. Fourth is nursing. Temporarily assisting an individual who lacks the necessary strength, will, and knowledge to satisfy one or more of the 14 basic needs. Assist and support the individual in life activities and the attainment of independence. Nurse serves to make patient complete, whole, or independent. The nurse is expected to carry out physician's therapeutic plan. Individualized care is the result of a nurse's creativity in planning for care. Nurse should have knowledge to practice individualized and human care and should be scientific problem solver. In the nature of nursing, nurse role is to get inside the patient's skin and supplement his strength, will, or knowledge according to his needs. The fundamental ideas of the need theory. Nurses care for patients until they can care for themselves once again. Patients desire to return to health, and nurses are willing to serve, and that nurses will devote themselves to the patient day and night. Henderson also believes that the mind and the body are inseparable and are interrelated. Nurses should be educated at the university level in both arts and sciences. And now let's hear from Liza. She will be discussing the case scenario and the client assessment.
Now, presenting a case of a 17-year-old male who was admitted in the surgical unit with attempted suicide. Mr. Michael Smith ingested all-purpose cleaner because of a family dispute 2 weeks ago. He lived a rural life and is still studying in high school. Upon history taking, his mother informed he was bullied 2 days ago before the incident. Mr. Smith was reluctant to share the reason for his suicide, but stated he was depressed and tried to kill himself. Eventually, his mother reported that he is an impulsive and emotional person. Physical assessment revealed alert and oriented, but depressed male. His chief complaints were difficulty in breathing and mood swings. CT scan and endoscopy showed damaged larynx, mouth, and stomach ulcers. The dietitian advised liquid diet. However, Mr. Smith showed dislike and refused to eat. Due to his limited intake, Foley catheter was initiated for accurate record of his daily intake and output. His non-compliance to intake resulted in dehydration, irritability, and insomnia as evidenced by dry mouth and sunken eyes ringed with dark circles. Now, heading to explain the nursing assessment on the case of Mr. Smith using Henderson's 14 components of the need theory. On factor 1, to breathe normally. He is having difficulty in breathing with a respiratory rate of 16 and is irregular, an O2 saturation of 87%. On the need to eat and drink healthy, he stands at 167 centimeters and weighs 56 kilograms with a good skin turgor. He was advised liquid diet but resisted to take any liquids. On the need of elimination of body waste, a Foley catheter was placed. On the need for movement and posturing, he reported fatigue, was feeble to walk, and gait is imbalanced. On the need for sleep and rest, he is experiencing insomnia for 3 days and have dark circles around the eyes. On the need to select suitable clothes, dress and undress, He's wearing loose-fitted, dirty shirts and pants. On the need to maintain body temperature, there was no signs of hyperthermia, and temperature is at 37 degrees Celsius. On the need to keep body clean and well-groomed, the mother reported he was conscious of his appearance but was not well-groomed at that time. On the need to avoid dangers in the environment, there's fatigue, feeble walk, and a history of attempted suicide. On the need of communication, larynx was damaged and have speech difficulty. On the need to worship according to one's faith, his religion is Islam, and the mother had reported that he was not spiritual. On the need for work accomplishments, there was loss of interest in self-care and an inability to perform ADL since he was bullied at school as reported by his mother. On the need for play or participate in various forms of recreation, the mother reported that he used to spend time with family but had lost participation in home activities. And lastly, on the need to learn, discover, or satisfy the curiosity, he is struggling to cope with his depression and present illness.
I'm Mamita Balachandran from 2P. Based on the information presented in the case scenario of Mr. Smith, client assessment was done using 14 components of Henderson's theory. Now I'm going to present about the nursing interventions of Mr. Smith. The nursing interventions are: we have to observe for strengths, such as the ability to relate the facts and to recognize the source of depression. Monitor the risks of harming self or others. You have to help clients set realistic goals, to identify personal skills and knowledge. Use empathetic communications with client and family to verbalize fears, express emotions, and set goals. Encourage client to make choices. Encourage client to participate in planning of care and scheduled activities. Encourage client to use cognitive behavioral relaxation techniques like music therapy, guided imagery, etc. Encourage client to involve in spiritual activities too. We have to discuss about the coping and depression management techniques like exercise, regular healthy diet, using relaxation techniques, and promoting a positive outlook by maintaining and monitoring his moods. And we have to involve in daily life activities. Maintain airway is important. Since he has a major complaint of dyspnea, it is vital to maintain his airway. Regular medication is also vital because pain management is important to manage pain, which aggravates depression. So it is important to reduce pain. Health education. Educate the patient about depression to recognize distorted perceptions and link them to his depression. The client goals. So what are the client goals of Mr. Smith? The client goals of Mr. Smith are to determine the degree of impairment, to assess the coping abilities and skills. We have to deal with current situations, to meet psychological needs of Mr. Smith, to maintain adequate nutritional status, to promote sleep pattern and wellness of Mr. Smith. And finally, we have to evaluate Mr. Smith, how he can be able to assess the current situation accurately. We have to evaluate whether he can be able to identify ineffective coping behaviors and consequences. Patient's ability to verbalize, awareness of own coping abilities, feelings congruent to behavior, to meet physiological needs like appropriate expression of feelings, identification of options, and use of resources. We have to evaluate the patient's ability to perform daily activities. We have to evaluate patient's ability whether he can be able to socialize with others, like whether he can be able to participate in community programs, recreational activities, and whether he can be able to engage in religious activities, etc. patient's ability to maintain adequate nutritional status, patient's ability to attain normal sleep pattern. And thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to present dementia intervention goals and evaluate Mr. Smith. Now I'm handing over to one of my group member to conclude the case scenario and Henderson's theory. Thank you.
For our conclusion, Henderson's provide the essence of what she believes is the definition of nursing. Her emphasis on basic human needs as the central focus of nursing practice has led to further theory development. Her definition of nursing and 14 components of basic nursing care are uncomplicated and self-explanatory. So let's all hear from Viriginia Henderson. What is her definition of nursing?
I've said this for so many years, I feel as if people are tired of hearing me say it, but I still think because the nurse is the only 24-hour worker, it seems to me that they are the people who do for others what they would do for themselves if they had the strength, the will, and the knowledge. I think it's also, while they're doing this, they're thinking, how can I help this person to be independent of me at the earliest possible time? That differs so from a newborn infant to somebody who's dying. The other thing that I really feel very strongly about is our failure to free our language from the jargon that separates us from the patient. I'm very critical of the nursing jargon and the medical jargon, particularly as it relates to the use of the medical record. And just as when you make rounds with patients present, or if you take a patient into an amphitheater, you talk about him, you don't talk to him. And I find that so wrong. To me, it just grates on me so that to me, it's so rude in the first place. The second place, we're wasting an opportunity to help that person. I think it's so clear.
Those are references. Our group members. And thank you.